there were lots of technical issues last time, and this is part of what I'm going to cover, the kind of progress, the kind of changes, improvement we have actually tweaked for this time. So it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be much better than last year, and the whole point of this evening is to make sure that we get everyone, after 2 hours, we get everyone up to speed with what we're going, the direction that we're setting, and we will have some objectives for this round, so that we can all go away feeling we are ready, and we feel more sense of purpose, and we're all feeling that we're supported, and we're here to support each other. We're actually learning from each other. We are only leading this because it was in bad shape that we just picked up the pieces. But I would like to think that we're all working as a team, as a group. Okay, so your input is highly valued. So we want everyone to, if you have anything that you think is a better way to do it, please chip in your ideas. Okay, now first round, instead of me doing all the talking, I think it's we just have a little 5 minute how we can talk about why STEAM. Why have you chosen to come here? I hope no one here is at gunpoint by principal already. Yeah. So just why are you doing this? We just want to have a quick word with the person next to you. So what is STEAM? What do you know about STEAM so far? Just a couple minutes. We had these Ningbo students from China coming to visit us for 2 weeks or so, and then they were in the classroom. We sort of tucked them at a corner, and then they sort of study holiday, and then we give them a program, a passport project. They talk about themselves, their culture, and then they learn about culture, and then it's like sharing. I find it quite rigid. And then when we came to STEAM, we realized that actually in real life, when you go traveling, you're just a visitor. You're actually not learning the culture so much. You're just like to sightseeing, like window shopping. But when you go to a country and work in a different culture, that's different. When you're working hand in hand with people from a different culture, that's when you actually care more about their culture. So, and that's when our deputy principal saw that maybe we could use this for that purpose, that global connection. And then when we tried that, and I was sold, and I thought that was really meaningful, because when you put the kids from 2 different cultures together and work together, they have got a common mission. Just like we always like who we are, we're putting them in the waka, in the same boat. That's when they learn how to respect each other. It's not just looking at each other and, oh, I'm trying to learn your language, I'm trying to learn your culture from a very rigid point of view. So this is very meaningful when we saw that. Yeah, apart from the STEAM itself, the technology part of things.
And it's really cool that you've got on board with the arts, because you sort of look at it and you think, how am I going to include that? Yeah. So yeah, we're going to be
awesome. Right. So we all know the STEAM. It stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and maths. And like we said before, we have basically done STEM all this time, and we definitely want to make it real STEAM this year. And we spent some time to look at different lesson plans, and of course PBR, we are IB school, so International Baccalaureate. So we looked at that, and then we looked at another school planning. We compared a few schools planning, and then we thought, okay, we sift out some common ground and some good stuff that we can actually make use of. So we tried to find a skeleton. We think that is really important, which was really lacking from last year. And then from 6 stages, we actually increased into 8 stages. These are the first 4 stages. And we have also swapped imagine and ask, because we thought they need to have wonderings. And we need to give them a lot of knowledge first, so that they have got something to hang on to before they can actually ask some rich question. So that's something that we realized last time when we did it. So we thought we'd swap it around, so we can actually do some knowledge teaching and get them to have lots of wonderings and imagination, capture them and hook them in, and then they start asking questions on the problem. Because all the STEAM project, the 11 topics that you have, they all have got a scenario, a problem that the student needs to solve. So that is a driving force for the learning.
And we've tried to make the scenarios sort of kid level as well, not you know what I mean? And something that that actually does make them think, rather than just a straight one solution. So there's lots of ways that you can actually go.
and then we get them to plan, and that's when they design and explore different design and make the prototype. So that's when they discuss and collaborate with each other, and then they create. That's when they actually make. That's the hands-on part.
And that's where you hook your boys in. Hey, all I want to do is make something.
Then after they've done it, they will test it first. And this is something that we don't have in our usual inquiry. Our school inquiry, for example, we normally make something, we come up with a solution, and then we present, we share right away. And what I like about STEAM is we actually get to test it out, and which is something that is fun because they get to play with it. So, and then they improve it, so they get a chance to improve it and to share. And the last one, we chucked it in this one because we didn't have that. We thought that after all the jazz, all the learning, they need to actually look back. We thought an evaluation would be good. I actually did that last year anyway, with the students I worked with.
Our observation,
because quite often you get to here and everything falls flat.
Yeah, but it even falls flat before that. Sometimes you've got to reflect
we
after
reflect
5.
at the beginning.
Well,
You might have to
you're doing that when you're
reflect on it,
testing
yeah.
and improving anyway.
Yeah.
See, at the moment you've got it done as a linear one, and
Yeah.
it's quite difficult to
It's-
try and...
Sometimes you've got to go backwards and forwards to
Yeah.
get to.
Yeah, it should be
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, it
so
should be like
because we
like
couldn't
that,
fit,
yeah.
we couldn't fit
Yeah.
the.
As soon as one
cartoon.
cog moves, they all
Yeah.
move. That's how we've done it at our school. They actually interlock. So when one cog moves, they're all affected.
Okay.
So your reflection can come in anywhere. So I'm not criticizing for a
No.
second. I'm just pointing something out which is quite interesting. As soon as just a little ratchet goes there with a cog moving, everything goes.
Yes.
That's the fantastic thing about it. These kids are all out there.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's super. Well done.
So this is something that I thought would make more sense. Then of course we try to fit into the time frame, and we have actually got some of you. I'm not sure if some of you were here when we talked about how long we want the whole project to be, and then we try to look at the stages, and then we try to think about school dynamics. What is happening? It's really hard. Some people want 8 weeks, some people want 4 weeks. Then we thought, okay, we come with in the middle of the road, 6 weeks, and to fit it in is quite all right. But it's still up to you teachers to actually adjust. Because sometimes you have to catch up.
And one thing we learned last time too, I know with the feedback I got from my kids was they wanted more sharing. They wanted to see what the other kids were doing in China. And
That was the best, the most valuable
Yeah.
part.
Oh,
Really?
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they all knew that everybody was working on the same thing.
Yes, so
Like, what are
irrespective
those-
of language, just to
Yeah.
see what these other dudes are doing.
One of
Yeah.
the problems I found with the first session, especially, it was 45 minutes of me talking, and so that didn't have to be done in real time.
Agreed, but it should have been done as a precursor. As when Daisy was there with us, I'm talking too much. We need to bring the camera on the kids.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do. That's what we're all about. Is
And they wanted to see the others as well.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even just hi, I'm, and they could all introduce themselves.
Yeah, that's what we said. They need to have an introduction.
That's how
We did that at the beginning.
That's
It
how
was
we
so
actually put it-
small on the
Yeah.
screen, because the camera was terrible.
That's why if you look at the lesson plan, we actually put in homework.
Yeah.
So some of the video could be viewed as homework.
Yeah. Okay.
Then that will actually you maximize your face time, for something more purposeful.
Because when you first introduce it, you want to front load them with information. Well, you introduce your scenario in the first lesson, and then say, look, here's a whole pile of videos. I want you to have a look at those before the next session, and that hopefully will give them extra information and everything else ready for the next one.
And I'm not sure whether you have chosen your STEAM topic. There were 11 that we have got down. At first we thought we would do only one lesson plan for everyone, but then we had to do 11. So
Two questions. So you're talking about homework. What happens if some kids wanted to share in their own time with some children in China? Is it possible that they can get their email addresses or can, what do you call it?
I think there's technology that can do that. And of course, a few things that we have to clear would be parental guidance,
digital,
school,
whether they're allowed to
so
do
something like
Digital safety,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, which is,
safety.
yeah.
So it's something that we still
Yeah.
need to sort out before we go ahead. Now
See-
and then this.
Go on, next, sorry, you keep going.
So these are the 11 topics, and you can see when all these topics were actually sitting under the big umbrella of sustainability. So if you look at this sustainable communities learn and work together. So we try to make it very general so that you can actually fit into all sorts of topic, whatever the school is doing. So this is sort of wide enough to actually encapsulate whatever focus your school is doing. So it'll be great for your school, so you can basically just pick it up and just make it work. Yeah.
Like even next term, ours is how things work. Wow, this will work.
You could do that the whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then all the 11 topics, if you look down from the big idea is sustainable community, learn and work together, there are 3 focus statements. And the focus statement is basically things that you can tap into. And we try to link to the IB concepts. So I have to be very careful not to use the same wording so that it's copyright. But concepts are concepts, you cannot copyright concepts. So out of the concepts, you can see perspective, change, and function. So we look at if you look at number 1, perspective is effective ways of people learning and working together. So if you look about housing, you look about water recycling, that actually involve not just an individual, it involves the whole community. And then the second one is technological changes in way people work together over time, and that is about you can see energy efficient building, where you can actually compare what we have in the past, what sort of housing we have currently, and what are we looking for in the future. So we try to actually make it flexible to incorporate all sorts of topics. And the last one, importance of individual roles contributing to community goals, and that is function, like how we function as a society. So it's everything is still sitting seamlessly fitting into the sustainable community, learn and work together. So we spent a lot of time just coming up with this, and we hope that we've got it right. So if you find that things need to be fine-tuned, do yell out.
And what we're trying to do is to keep the format standard, so if you do one, then next time you want to do another one, you sort of know how it works. So you've got a basic framework there, so you can just, oh yes, I know. Yeah, it just makes you as a teacher a little bit more confident to maybe tackle something like hydropower when you have not got a clue. Hey.
So we are all probably doing different topics. Let's say we have all chosen different topics out of these 11 topics but we still come together because we are still fulfilling sustainable communities learn and work together. So we're still fulfilling the main theme. So we thought that was important as a joint force.
No, we're going to.
Then we'll come to the part where I think I've already jumped here, which is good because we can get it done more quickly. So I have already touched on what we have got so far for 2018, like this year, and the unique features. We have already explained how we have done the skeleton, like the structure of the lesson plan. And you can tell the lesson plan is a 6-lesson plan, and the 6 lessons span over 6 lessons. You can see we try to fit in the stages of the 8 stages of STEAM. So if you see that right now, you can see lesson 1 is basically we try to cover the imagine and ask stage. So basically lots of knowledge sharing, some YouTube resources, or you can add in some hands-on experiment just to see certain phenomenon of that science concept, and then
in that lesson 1 too, some of the lessons you'll actually see that there's a little experiment or something, or an example of what it's sort of alluding to, just to get the kids thinking as well. Just a little bit of extra motivation instead of the teacher talking all the time.
And then the lesson 1, you can see we try to put in self-introduction. All these are pretty standard across the 11 topics. We try to follow the same format, but it's up to each individual teacher to make it work for yourself. So you can still add in your own flair to it, within the structure. Then STEAM general information, which is very similar to the slides that I'm just showing you. I'm basically using the same slide. and then you have assessment rubric. I will talk about this because last time we didn't really have a rubric. We have one that's got 3 level, and the assessment rubric, the criteria is not really relating to what we're doing. It's quite general, so I'll try to touch on that afterwards. Then assign groups and group agreement, expectation, all that. So it's pretty standard. Then imagine we have left this slide blank, so you all will get a folder of resources that Daisy has prepared for you, including this slideshow, so you can actually make changes to it, especially like this one, setting the scene, will be different from topic to topic within this 11 topics. So you actually need to do a little bit of touch up for a couple of slides, and then you're ready to go. And then introduce a problem and the scenarios. So when you've got them thinking, that's when we get each group to think about the problem and what they want to design. Then of course, every lesson we try to put in a recap to make sure that the kids are not just having fun, but they actually think about their learning. And this part could be reflection in itself. And then out of the 6 lessons, we have to get the PhD student involved, and we have analyzed the flow of the lesson progression, that we don't really need the PhD students the whole time there, but we do need them at some stage. And in fact, sometimes it's better not to have the PhD students because because you are experts. Sometimes it's good to let the kids fail.
First attempt and learn.
Yeah. So and then when they have failed, when they have tasted failure, and when the PhD students appear with great knowledge, then they're probably a bit more humble to actually try to gain knowledge because they tried out. Now they know what they want to learn, what they want to improve on. So that's the whole point. So the PhD student involvement is lesson 2, all the even numbers, 2, 4, and 6. And you see why we put that in a minute. So this is, you see, we have homework. The homework would be finding your questions, watching some more resources or clips, and then they will have to email the PhD students, or the teacher would coordinate that. Basically, you're preparing for lesson 2 because the questions are needed for them to do the next lesson. Next lesson is plan. Once they're asked questions, then they can make better decision when they do the design. And this one, quick homework sharing. So we basically get one group from China and one group from New Zealand just to share. You can pick it randomly, so that kids do think that, oh, I have to do my homework because I'll be asked to share. So give them a little bit of pressure.
And this gives us a little bit more interaction with the kids in China as well, whereas previously it's been a little bit passive. So it's nice to actually get that interaction.
Then of course we welcome the PhD expert to answer 2 most frequently asked questions. So hopefully the students will have done their homework and email the teacher or the PhD directly the questions, and the PhD student will have some time to sort of do a bit of preparation and come to lesson 2 quite prepared. We have to coordinate with China as well, see whether the teacher there will get the students in China to ask the questions. So these are the things that we want to make sure that they are on the same page with us. Plan, we discuss, and then these are the questions that they will be asking the students, and what sort of material they need, and then what feature and design.
And I don't know about the ones who did it last time, but my kids really look forward to having the PhDs there, because like you said, they see them as not as a all knowledge or whatever else, but it was really good to have somebody else to bounce off, and it's not just us providing that information. They can see that other people, have got that knowledge and they need to seek it.
Yeah. And not just the students. I think for me as a teacher, I learned a lot from the PhD students as well last time, because we were doing bridge building. I'm not really in this field of study, like I can make a bridge, but I don't really know. But the PhD student was there to talk about the technical stuff, like the pressure point and then the curve, all that. It's really amazing. then design sharing, and we also want them to give some feedback towards the end of lesson 2. We get them to share about their design, and we also give them a chance to think about how they want to incorporate art, like art integration, what sort of meaning, because art is about expressing meaning. So we want them to see, looking at the scenario, the problem that is at hand. They're designing this prototype to solve this problem, but there's a target audience for this problem. So what sort of design, if they're doing, let's say, a filter system for this community probably is a Maori community, then they probably want to incorporate some Maori colors or design in there. So that is part of art. So we thought that it's very simple to do this time. We have looked at other ways of STEAM that people have done at a higher level, but we thought for our level this time, we try to make it achievable. We can make it more established along the way. But for this time around, we want something more simple, and it's also easy for us teachers to see and to assess. Then recap again, very similar, some homework tasks which finalize design, justify the design option, materials. So everything's sort of linked with what they do in class and prepare them for the next lesson. So that we actually can make it more seamless.
And you'll know by that time what other things that the kids need as well, so you might have to be a little bit sort of preempt a few things and bring a few extras or whatever else, or suggest to the kids that, hey, that you need to redesign that, you need to bring some more materials.
Right. Lesson 3 is the hands-on. We need as much time as we can get for lesson 3. So we try to keep it simple and just 2 groups to share about their homework, and then we just do the creating part.
And this is where it's really good, especially from the technical side of things. I did what you were saying. I got the tech to go around with the camera. The kids were all working, and I wasn't talking much. The kids were making, but we got so much feedback by the tech going around and filming the kids, because the kids in China were watching, and our kids were watching what
You see,
the
ours
other
was
kids were
only one
doing.
way though. So this time, if it's reciprocity this time, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
So last
I think
time
it's
we
gonna
did
be-
it was just us to China.
Yeah.
We didn't know what it was like.
Yeah, we didn't say, yeah.
So we want to find from the opposite. That's the beauty of it. Wow, here we go. The guy's 11,000
Yeah.
k's away, but look at the similarities, all the differences.
Yes, because
Yeah.
our kids were watching to see
So
what.
that's going to be new learning for us.
Yeah.
They were just sitting in desks.
They were passively
Yes,
just watching
they
us.
were
Yeah.
fairly passive,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I asked the teacher in China, could some of the kids come up and show us?
Yeah, I did that too.
You know,
but
that
the-
sort of thing.
The connection was.
I think maybe they're not used to the way
Yeah.
we work, so by providing a really good lesson plan in what we're actually doing, then hopefully they'll look at that and go, okay, we can do this too. So, there's a little bit of...
And this time around, we're actually sharing this lesson plan with the teacher in China as well. So the teacher can actually help to get
Okay.
more in line with us.
And
so
they
that we
can
know where
anticipate what's coming up as
Is
well.
the technology a little bit better, or is it just the same as what we had last year?
Technology is much better.
It's much
And
better
there was
now?
one
Yeah.
session that our technical guy
Yeah.
would share with us.
Oh, cool.
Okay, a lot of things has been improved.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can see with what we're saying, we also have a sharing session, right? Progress report. So we report on progress between New Zealand and, so we actually allocate some time towards the end of lesson 3. They get to share their design ideas. So we give them, I think, 10 minutes. Then we can actually share.
So that's a verbal, not a written
Does that
report.
allow sufficient time, you think, for the translation and the impact of that translation? Just asking.
Yeah, that's something that we.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but once you
Try
go
and keep
once
it
you
simple.
tweak it,
Yeah.
you'll know what it will
Initially, even if you just have one child report from
Yeah.
New Zealand, one from China, just
And with
get
the-
it going
With
Yeah.
the
and see how it
translations,
goes. Yeah, because there was some dead spots in between.
And we
Yes.
also have,
Like in like lesson 3, where we got the tech in New Zealand to go round. What I would do is I would talk and say what the kids were doing, and then all of a sudden the teacher in China would be chatting away to the
Sure.
kids saying what it
Sure.
was, and the camera was still going, and I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
So use those dead times
Yeah.
to say, hey, look at this, and then move on.
And this time, I think the gadget that will be installed in your computer, there's a translator. I think, is that ready, or is that it's not ready yet?
No.
No, not ready yet.
I'll still be a translator
Okay.
online.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they'll be online, because I think Jason mentioned something that they are looking into an app that would eventually you will speak in English and Chinese word will come on the screen. It's like
Yeah, like Google Translate has some interesting words occasionally.
Yeah.
especially with my accent. So. Okay, so then recap and homework to make the model to completion. So for lesson 3, when they make, we expect them to finish up to 50%, at least 50%, because there's not enough time to actually finish the whole thing.
Sure.
So they get to 50%, and then the other 50% is homework to finish it, and then bring it back.
Or it could just be in class for us to be working in the background before our next live.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, yeah.
My kids
Same
came in at
time.
lunchtime into
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
the studio,
Yeah.
and they just worked on it
Yeah.
in their own time.
So we consider that because we don't actually expect that everything has to be done. Just like last time, we had to really squeeze in, and lots of feedback from the students saying that we wish we had more time. There's no time. We couldn't finish. So that will be all. I think I'm just going to skip through this quickly. Now, lesson 4 will be test and improve together. You do the testing there to make it work, and then fine tune it so that we'll be ready for the next lesson. The next lesson will be this is lesson 4, and this is where the PhD is here. And we had a little debate about when to have the PhD, or whether we want PhD to be on site for lesson 3 and 4. And we purposely thought that let the students get no training wheels for lesson 3, and then if they crash or fail, then when they do the test and improve, the PhD will be here. We are more mature, it's always there. Okay. So I think that's quite clear. Test and improve. And then recap, homework again is to prepare short presentation, and this is a presentation part for the prototype, the solution, then expectation for the next lesson. Lesson 5, share. And we try to share as much as we can, and we actually basically put down lesson 5. If you can't share everybody, especially from both sides, then it will run into lesson 6. So we try to make lesson 6 quite free, so you've got some catch-up time to do. And nothing really to plan for this lesson. It's basically just sit back and enjoy. By that time, the students will have done a lot of work. Your teaching is done, so you can start looking into the rubric, and you probably can start assessing some of them, which I will share with you the assessment. But they do have a China. So when the group in China presenting, it's my job. I have to evaluate using PMI to see the plus, minus, and the interesting part, so that when they're watching, they've got something to look out for. And likewise, when I'm presenting, one group in China would be paired up to judge me using PMI to evaluate my presentation. So these are some of the things that you have to bear in mind. We haven't actually quite sussed out at which point of time you communicate with the teacher there, because it does need some coordination. So if you start to think ahead.
Speaking of that, over the holidays, because I found that really hard, teaching a school or a class that we had no idea who they were. So I designed a communication profile sheet. So our office lady's done it on the computer, so we can send it to you.
Yeah.
So that was sort of
That's a
a
very
getting
good
to
point.
know
Hopefully
each
by
other.
lesson 5,
No, but this
because
is
you would
before
say,
that starts.
yeah,
We want to do a bit of
Yeah.
groundwork before
Yeah.
and establish
Yeah.
who our audiences and vice
Yeah.
versa, sort of over there, and yeah.
I actually asked Susu last time when we did that.
Yeah.
I asked, I think 2 days before my lesson, I did ask Susu, I need to know more information about it.
Well, that's what that will do.
Yeah.
So
Because
we've got
recent-
it on the computer
You've
at
got
Scott. So.
Whitley's, what are your 6 and 7
6 and
7 versus my 9, 10s and 11s. What's the audience like that side?
Yeah, so they get to know.
You know, it's
And it would be nice too
yeah,
to
ours
meet
with
the
13
PhD.
and 14-year-olds.
Mm.
It'd be nice to meet the PhD before, so you can discuss how your lessons are going to look, because you're going to have to adapt a few things. So
I was offline 2 weeks ago, and there was a lot of value in me meeting the PhD
Yeah.
students. Really, I found that very helpful.
Yeah.
because you were connected more and you
Yeah, and she just
you
said
knew
to
what
me,
she's
I mean, the one
like.
thing was you can have these primary school kids out to the university students, you know.
Yeah.
And it was also that
She was
relationship
good.
about how you're handling the kids and how they'll actually react to a stranger and such.
She was amazing with
She
the
was
kids.
really good, yeah.
And so you knew that you could get her to do this because you'd met her beforehand.
Because it was immediately
Yeah.
team teaching, and that's not everybody's cup of
No.
tea.
No,
Yeah.
that's right.
But she did it
And
really
those dynamics are
Mine was
very
really good
important.
as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You
Yeah,
can
mine
be
just sat
knowledgeable,
back.
you know, but you know, have you got that
Yeah.
chemistry to be able to to interact with the kids?
Yeah, I think we were lucky last year that PhDs we had were really good.
See,
They
mine
just
sat
fitted
there.
in so nicely, and so
Mm.
really good.
Right, lesson 6 is the last lesson. It's alright. I try to start with the time. I don't mean to be rude. And you see peer assessment. So the homework was actually do the PMI. So we'll choose some kids from each side to actually share the PMI chart so that they can actually see, you know, like how they evaluate. Basically, the whole process is get them to think critically of what they see. And then they have assessment rubric for each group to do, and by the teacher and PhD, and that's why we need the PhD student to be there on lesson 6, so that sometimes it's good to have a third opinion.
A third pair of eyes, because you guys, or the PhDs, will see stuff that we don't,
Yeah.
or you will actually interpret it totally different.
Yeah,
to
become
us,
more
we-
objective.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
So that's it. So you can see there's not a lot for that. It's basically to catch up and to finish off, wrap up, and assess and reflect. The next part, we need to know that if out of 11 topics, do we need to all touch on each topic at least once? Or I think
What do you mean, and what sort of time frame are you talking
I
about?
think that the schools in China have already picked their topic. So whatever topic that you choose, you're basically choosing the school.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So I think I know
Well,
one
you see
school
the years are different, of course. I mean, they've been chugging along since September.
because
Yeah.
one school specifically asked for solar power,
okay.
and that's why we have 11 topics.
That
It
makes
kind
a
of
bit sense.
exploded.
That makes a
Yeah.
bit of sense, yeah.
Yeah.
My question is, being new to all this, you say there's the sharing, there's homework and all of this. Is there a scaffold, is there a system that works for these presentations that goes back and forth, or do we create that and work off something we've created? For example, I could see easily enough how I could make that happen. Our school's a Google school, so using all of our Google Sheets and things and sharing homework is very easy that way, and all working in together on the same document and doing those things. You know, sending out, say, Google Sheets and, Google Slides and, you know, doing a little survey, and they'll get the results in really quickly. But is there a system that we use?
We haven't actually put it because we thought every teacher has got different like digital classroom, and you almost sound like a digital class.
I've actually tried this inter-country communication before, and just the lag and the unreliability of streaming
You're very
video.
slow, yeah.
Oh man, it can be a
And
nightmare.
that changes from school to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why we leave it open for teacher to do some problem solve. So we've structured the skeleton of the lessons and all that, and give you the resources. That it's up to you how you make it work, and of course your classroom setting is slightly different from yours and from mine. So yeah, feel free to actually make it work. If you want some, so if you're
Problem is, like, I know, like, Google is not opened up in China, is it?
No.
Is there Google's good
No.
products?
They've got a different
Would solve a lot of problems.
It would be really easy
And
to
yes,
just go.
when
I had Shanghai airport,
I think
they were
if you-
advertising
yeah.
Google, but it's on the way out of Shanghai.
Yeah. If you're going to do any sharing with the kids in China, I think you've got to do it at the moment. We've got to do it within that 3/4 of an hour with the cameras
Yes.
Yeah.
each side, and say this is it. You know, like when my group evaluates the children in China, then you know we can show them the rubric. We can talk to that.
Yeah, that's a shame that we
I
can't
know,
get
but
them
we've
up
got to
close
start
and-
from somewhere,
absolutely.
and I think
Yeah.
that's a really good start.
What software platform have you used in the past to set up that video sharing?
he will explain that. In
Okay.
Yeah. We're still using
So-
Classroom.
again? Yeah. John will explain that. So John will wow you. Okay, I'll save that for later.
Because you can still ask the estimates, mate.
Okay. I think I have actually covered lesson plan.
Yeah, we've covered that.
I would talk about. So what is the situation with the topics?
Yes, so says that some of you.
Right. We looked at different types of assessment, and then we looked at other STEAM project and STEM, what they assess. So there were 4 C's. The 4 C's are probably the in thing: creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. So we try to incorporate these 4 C's in there to make it relevant for the whole process. Then, of course, across that, we have to tie in the STEAM disciplines, the 5 disciplines of STEAM. So we try to make it authentic, and we look across all the different topics and the prototypes that they were making, and we try to analyze the process from the 6 lessons out of the 8 stages. Then we thought, okay, we definitely have got some problem solving involved. So we're going to solve the problem, and that actually is how creative they are, and what they do with engineering. There's an engineering process. So we try to put into a 5-point scale, and this is very general. It's so general that it can actually apply to all the different 11 topics. So we want something that is sustainable. We want a rubric that we can apply later on. Now, for teachers, if you choose to say, for example, your lessons gone really well in some areas, but you run out of time to actually cover some of the components that they didn't get a chance to actually explain the design. So you don't have to actually use all these 8. I put down 8 here, 2 for each C, to cover the basis. You might want to, for your project, because it's only 6 weeks. Sometimes less is more. Let's say you want to do only 1 of each. It's up to you, that you just assess.
Like if you're doing tiny house, you might do your creativity, artistic elements, and maybe it could be collaboration because you working. Part of your thing is about working in a group, and just do those 2. It's like all our waltz and everything else. You don't vault yourself up the creek.
That's quite funny.
That's a wonderful rubric. I'd be very proud if I built that.
It's detailed as hell.
Great choice of
it has
typeface.
to be brought down quite a few pegs for you to do.
Yeah, I try. What I'm trying to say is, I don't want you to feel like you're bogged down, that you have to assess everything. Okay,
No.
so pick and choose. But if you want to assess all 8 of them, by all means go for it. But if you want to choose only 5, or 4,
just
probably,
depends on what unit you're doing.
yeah.
I think this would be something very useful to just hand if you've got more senior students as well, even junior ones, hand it out to them too.
Yeah.
So here you go, this is what I'm going to be assessing.
Well, we do that anyway, hand them out at the beginning.
Yeah, and so that's what I was sitting there.
So you're right at the end in lesson 6 where they self-evaluate.
Yeah, this would be fair.
Yeah.
But I'll give them that right from the start so they can work off it to the and be thinking, I've got to think this way.
Yeah, so for some of us, this is still quite new to us, like this STEAM project. So if, let's say for this next one, your first STEAM project, you probably want to just focus on the artistic element, and also for the topic that you do, maybe it involves like fair tests. Then you want to actually use that, and you want to focus on 2 or 3. Just then you do really well with 2 or 3. The next time when you do another STEAM, you want to explore another area of assessment. That's good too. Okay, so that's how we build on our knowledge as teachers ourselves. Okay. So some of the wording are quite generic. Feel free to change some of them, because it's really hard to make the differentiated level wording for each of them. So
Also,
just
sort of
a
no
guideline.
assessment to like the big idea.
No.
No. So do we want to assess on the big idea? Because that's sort of what you need to be sort of Well,
I know
that's inquiry,
for
yeah.
for the IB
Teacher
and-
judgment.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
OTJ, yeah.
And we
I'm just
OTJ,
saying,
yeah.
just-
For the big one, just do OTJ.
while we create this assessment and also the skeleton, while we try to steal ideas from some of the planning, we also try to chuck away some of the things that we sometimes have to do at school, because those are some of the things that actually
They
kill
bog
the
us
fun
down.
and we
Oh.
feel bogged down. So we try to simplify it, because for once we are allowed, where we're allowed to actually do our own planning our way. So, we're gonna-
Well, there's no planning then.
so, right. So, hope you're happy with this. And if there's anything to tweak, feel free to tweak it.
We're going to have access to a digital copy, aren't we? So we can tweak
Copy,
it.
we just
Soft
learned the new
copy.
word.
Yeah.
Right, soft.
Cool.
So we can
Originally,
tweak
I
it
will
for
share
our
with you.
age.
This is not my plan to share with, but I will share with you the one that I actually made that's on Excel. But we're not sure how to share this with you at this point of time. So, so this what it looks like.
That doesn't look good.
So say I'm
It's a
assessing
work in
this.
progress.
Yeah. So
But it will make your life a lot easier, because if you do it in Excel,
It jumps, it can...
it'll
The data.
work it all out for you.
okay. So this is what it looks like. I have. This is what I started with before I have to make that one that you're
Yeah.
looking at. So let's say art and creativity, and I know what I was assessing. I just click 3, and it will just pop out. That thing.
Ah.
So eventually, if you guys
Meet
like
Mr.
it, I
Excel,
would-
okay?
So that's
Lives and
how.
breathes.
Can it be replicated in Google Sheets?
Yeah.
Probably not.
No.
Oh,
Excel is
really
not.
nice.
So that's the question over here.
Excel.
See,
Excel is
that's
the
it.
issue.
You're right, I was
That's the
thinking,
problem.
Hey,
I
not
get very
right
frustrated
now.
using spreadsheets.
It's called a
Yeah.
clunky engine.
Yeah.
So that's where I started from. So now you can see.
But you notice what's happening here, down here, right?
It will do all the calculation for you. Let's say I want to look at science. This is 7 out of 10,
I don't need
and
Google
I will look at creativity. This is
we've got
so
it.
this is what I.
Because if you're grading your children and it's a science base, and you say, well, look, in critical thinking, collaboration, 7 out of 10, or you're going down critical thinking, it was 10 out of 10, the overall mark is 80, but at least you've got 2 sets of marks you can actually give them. Like you could say, in this project, they got 82.5. And then you can say, well, how did they go for collaboration, communication, right? And there's half your report comments for a start, or you know.
Thank God
Yeah.
we don't have reports that detailed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, eh? It's
But you
just-
see,
it's
we're
all
looking
starting.
forward. We want the reporting
Yeah.
to serve both purposes.
absolutely.
for
Yeah,
exactly.
parents.
And it's
Yeah.
not just us.
Yeah.
It's in China as well. Eh?
Yeah.
You know, they're wanting more detailed. Yeah, much more detailed evaluation.
But see, I'm
Right?
going to
And
have
this
you-
is that's what it was
Yeah.
done for primarily.
Sure.
But it suits us absolutely brilliantly. You know, I showed the other teachers and they just loved us.
Takes all the text and dumps it into a page for you as well as with the percentages on the
The only
side.
problem is I'm going to have to dumb some of this down.
Yes.
So I have to be
Please
able to.
feel free to
yeah,
do that.
yeah. So getting a soft
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah, it will be a software. Everything will be in the
I didn't
folder.
get the term.
Yeah, everything will be in the folder. So it's
Yeah.
up
Oh
to
yeah,
you
cool.
to tweak it.
Thanks.
We're supposed to have a little break, but I think if we quickly finish the last few items, then we can actually have our refreshment early. So how about that?
Yeah, I've got to go.
So
You design the structure. Otherwise, you could go down. This one was for water filters. When the kids, they put, for example, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's charcoal and sand and banana peels and things like that that gets put into the water bottle for filtering water. And I thought it would be quite interesting if the kids could come up with patterns specific for each material that they need to put into. So it's kind of like a visual instruction on how many materials need to go in what water and so forth. And yeah, or it could be with color gradation. The clearer the water, the less colors and so on. And it might actually speed things up in terms of exchanging ideas with the Chinese students, because it can kind of indicate information visually. This one was for the water bill, creating energy using water, and I thought that maybe adding an element of animation would be quite interesting if you were to put like very, very simple patterns on the spoons, and when the spoons turn, then it can move. So it's an idea of kind of combining the visuals and motion together. This one was really specific to the scenario that was given, which was that the kids were stuck in a cave. Is that right? So I thought that maybe adding a sound or something like that to indicate when the wheels are turning would be quite interesting, because they won't be able to see in the dark. And this one was creating a fan. I wanted to maybe use the idea of primary colors. You could paint the fans with the very simple yellow, blue, or red, and then when it turns into secondary colors, oranges and greens and so on. So
And this is based on the wind turbine,
right.
unit.
Okay.
And you can have fun with it and let the kids decide what they want to do.
I did that when I was young.
And the last one, this is for creating houses out of recycled materials. When you want to make walls, how do you convey the idea of cleanliness and uniformity using patterns and the recycled materials? So all of this is printed in your packet, so you can have a look at them later.
Yeah. So I thought that this is a really good guide, a good starting point for us. Some really good ideas to bounce off from. Now I would like to share with you the